Alright, good afternoon, guys. I am currently heading to Lowe's to pick up some Sphagnum Moss. I have to do some repotting today on my Scindapsus exotica. I'm actually using moss right now in the grower end, but um, I'm going to attach on a pole as well. But we'll see you guys when we get in there. Alright, guys, I've made it into Lowe's, and I came in here for, of course, my orchid moss. But as you guys can see down here, these are your philodendron Birkins, and they are huge, pretty good size. Also have some nice Brazils here, and here are some, I think they're called Hendra Ivy, if I'm not mistaken. Croutons. Also, here's your regular green as well. Oh, I'm sorry, you're good. Here they are, just wonderful. Also have, could be the Zinzi, but looks like the regular. And then also down here, there's this Scindapsus. This is a full pot. I think it's probably 6-inch. Nice little planter as well. Here are some of the plants that they have in here. It's a nice strawberry begonia. I can say that Lowe's do have a nice selection of plants, and they're usually healthy for the most part. You do have some Lowe's that you'll see with the water hose and they just go crazy with the water. But it's purple waffle. It's so nice. But again, I've never seen a Dracaena. I call them Dracaena. I've never seen them this big, and I'm pretty sure it's probably due to COVID. And shipments are being halted or stuck in one spot. So here are some white birds of paradise. There's your fiddle leaves, and some of the things over here on clearance as well. I apologize, guys. Also, this is a kind of a quick run through of one of the big box stores. I came in here again just for my orchid moss. I will be doing a project once I get back to the house. It's already raining as we speak, so that's fun. But these are some of the plants that I have here at my Lowe's. Oh, look at this here. Escargot. Or, as we call her, escargot begonia. Look at this orchid pattern. Oh my. I may have fallen for these guys just because of the flowers are just to die for. Guys, check this one out. Alright guys, I'm fixing to head back now. As I said, it's raining and it's starting to get cold. Well, colder rather. I will see you guys once once I get back to the house. And also here's some of the outside plants as well. Alright guys, heading back to the car. As I said before, it's currently raining and I'm not trying to get my camera wet, so I will see you guys back at the house. Alright guys, I've made it back. It is cold, it's raining. Oh, and I still also have some planting to do as well. Yep, she did. Hey, my duty. Hey, this is my pride and joy right here, guys. Hey, buddy. You gonna tell the Rocky, hey? You gonna tell the plant people, hey? Say, hey. Hey. Okay. It's just a great sight. But, yes, I'm currently trying. Come on, buddy. To get these things together so I can finish. Alright guys, I'm going to put you down for a second. I have to get some plants out to my grandmother. Just give me 1 second. Excuse the Christmas tree, it's going out the door. Another sansevieria. Alright guys, so as you can see, Domino Peace Lily, which is perfect. I mean, she has been growing pretty good. And I also have some Birdness Sansevieria in here that will be going as well. So give me a second, guys. I need to run back out the door. Alright guys, I've made it back home, and like I said before, I'm going to be repotting my Scindapsus exotica. Right now she's in a she's freestanding in a hanging pot that I have back here at the bottom, inside of my grow tent, growing in sphagnum. Also, here on my channel, I'm going to be doing a video, I think within maybe a day or so, on my the potting mix that I use for my plants. Currently, I have, like I said before, I have a lot of aeroids, so they're in a very airy mixture. I've also have some that have been growing in vermiculite, perlite, and sphagnum moss. And for me, the best thing that works is the sphagnum moss, and depending on the certain plant, the vermiculite as well. I'm also planning on redoing a lot of my plants with the sphagnum method, just because of the watering habit that I have, especially during winter time. It sucks. I'm kind of heavy-handed, so you really have to watch how much water you put on your plants, as you should know. even if the top part is dry. As they say, water it when maybe like an inch or so is dry, but they never take in consideration the bottom part of the pot, that is, or the middle, or where the root ball sits, is usually still somewhat damp, close to wet. So yeah, during these times like winter time, my watering sometimes hurt me. So what I'm doing now is preventing that with the sphagnum moss. But as I said, I will be doing a video on my potting mix for my plants, and most certainly to almost definitely going to switch out the potting mix for sphagnum, just because of, like I said, the watering situation, and you really can't overwater sphagnum. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Here, as I said, inside of my grow tent, there are a lot of more plants that I do need to put in Sphag and repot and on a pole or propagated, and it's a lot. But here is my lovely Scindapsus exotica. Hopefully I can find a picture. This is one of my OG plants. She's pretty old. When I mean pretty old, I would say maybe close to 2 years. And if you have plants like I have, I mean, anything over like 6 months to a year is long, especially when the seasons change and they get hit pretty hard. But this is my Scindapsus exotica. And I said she's pretty old, but you notice that she's small. You're like, well, hey, Pete, well, why you say that she's too old? I mean, you saying that she's old, maybe 2 years old, and there's nothing much to show for her. I can honestly say that this plant gives me no problems at all. So there weren't any like pest problems or underwatering root rot or overwatering, any of that nature. It's just that I opened a Etsy shop. I think it was towards maybe sometime maybe March or April. But anyway, my plants were actually pretty big and taking up a lot of space. And as a plant person, I hate throwing away plants. Like, even if when you see me propagating some of my plants and you will have nubs or something not even bigger than an inch or so, and I really hesitate to throw them away even though I don't need them. But yeah, it's just a rule of thumb when you're actually a plant person, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But yes, I sold a lot of cuttings from this, and I mean a lot of cuttings from this exotica, and this is what I have left from her. The oldest leaves, as you can see, like this one here, is a little bit crinkled, and this one here, it had caught some kind of fungus on it, being in the grow tent, of course. But these are like the eldest leaves here. A lot of these other leaves that you're seeing, here's another eldest one because it's wrinkled. All this other stuff is actually new growth within maybe, I'll say 3 months, 3 to 4 months. All of this is new growth. And also, as you can see, she's growing pretty good in sphagnum. And also, I've noticed with my grow tent and with a lot of my areas that when you put them in the right conditions, or humid conditions, these area roots, they tend to come out, and they love any kind of moisture far from wet, especially when they've already been rooted. They love the moisture, and they come out and try to attach to something. Now, with me growing them like this, and also on that the pole that I'm putting them on, it'll make it easier for me to cut them and propagate them and give them away or sell. And instead of having to just cut a regular node with no roots on it, which will take a little bit longer for itself to propagate and put out some nice roots so it can be repotted. But if I did want to cut it and make another one, which I probably won't because this leaf, as you can see, is pretty big. But if I wanted to cut it and fill her out some more, like these spaces that you're seeing in here, I probably could, but I'm pretty sure I won't, just because of I'm fixing to transfer it now into a stake or a pole or slab of wood, or however you want to call it, so that you can grow a lot bigger. And we already know the exotica leaves, they already come. Oh, look at this! I didn't even see that little guy right there come in. We already know that these guys leaves are pretty big, and I'm pretty sure, I would say maybe 98% sure, that if these area roots have something to attach to, and with it being inside of the grow tent, these leaves would almost double, triple the size, and that's almost with any aeroid itself. So yeah, I finally got my Sphag, as you seen earlier, from Lowe's. And it's crazy, you guys. We've been hunting Sphag for a long time, and ever since this COVID has hit, there's a lot of things that has not made it back to the shelves. And during times like this, you really don't know or don't understand, or, to my point, can't even comprehend the fact that most of our goods and tools and clothing and food and anything you can almost think of does not come from the United States, which is backwards if you ask me. Why would you pay someone else to whatever, off subject? But sphagnum was like finding a needle in a haystack. I mean, this $6 bag of sphagnum was just almost impossible. I'm sorry, guys, if you can hear some banging in the background. It's kind of raining and windy outside, and it's the wind is fighting with my the door. So just give me a second. Let me go tie this down. Alright, guys, I've made it back. It is raining out there. You know, I would cut this out or edit it out, since I did spend some time on my editing software, so I know how to do it. But it's fine. I just walked to the door and secured it. But yeah, back to my exotica. What I'm going to do is use this little slab of wood here. I get these at Lowe's. They're like $1.30-something. When I do my grow tent tour or plant tour or house tour, however you want to put it, you'll notice I use these a lot. Now, I should mention now on my Scindapsus that I don't use the moss on the actual pole. For my, I don't want to say sensitive plants, but let's say rare to uncommon plants, I put the moss on there for the propagation purposes, like I said before. Even though that your Scindapsus or any kind of aeroid will grow on this piece of wood here, those roots, hairs will attach and lock themselves to the wood, and sometimes pulling it will sometimes pulling it will break or disturb your root system. And even though you still have roots there that you can use it, of course, messing with the roots are not good. But I use a different kind of orchid moss on the plants that I attach the moss to. And I think I get that moss from like Lowe's. Let's just say an off-brand store where you wouldn't normally go. Like, okay, let's say if you go to Kroger for a hammer, you know, it's kind of weird. But I got this from like a off-brand store. I think it was like, it's not off-brand, but it's off-brand store. That I say that because of the stores that are off-brand are usually the stores that not supposed to sell, or you wouldn't see items like this inside of the store. Anyway, I got this that kind of moss from Roses. It's a shopping center. They sell clothes and home stuff, and you would rarely think to go, and they have a garden section. It was weird, but I use that moss because one, it's easier for the roots to attach themselves and wiggle within the sphagnum, and when it's time to propagate, and if I do decide to cut or sell those, my rare uncommon plants that are in here, when it's time to cut them and take them off, it's way easier, even easier than just a regular piece of wood to take them off. Cut them, either put them in the water, put them back in spag, or depending on your growing conditions, put them in dirt, and usually somewhere warm, so the root system or the stem doesn't rot out when you water it, or whatever the case being. But yes, once I do my tour, you'll notice the complete difference of the setup for my other areas. But for the Scindapsuses that I have a regular Scindapsus, the small leaf one. And I guess I'm going ahead and pull it out. I have the small one, and then I also have a silvery Ann that I attach to the pole as well, or plank, piece of wood, however you want to call it. And then I also have your regular Scindapsus as well that I need to, actually, you know what? I might go ahead, it's growing in vermiculite, only because I didn't have any more Sphagnum Moss at the time, but she's growing now in vermiculite. I'm going to take it out and show you, but she's growing now in vermiculite, and I might, this is me thinking, guys, like I told you before in my previous video, I have ideas and projects that run through my head at like faster than the speed of light, and sometimes it's stressful to the point where I'm like stuck and looking at this one plant for about an hour trying to figure out what I want to do with it. Like now it's doing fine sitting in vermiculite, but I have some sphagnum moss now and I want to switch it over. But I'm going to let it stay just so I don't disturb it, and also give myself an extra project when it's really not needed. But excuse the light or the blur. I'm turning my grow lights back on for a second. I don't know if you guys can see any of this humidity or steam coming out of here, but yeah. Here is the regular green Scindapsus. As you can see, she's growing wonderfully. And if you look at the bottom here, what I'm seeing, so I definitely won't touch her. She has her roots growing through here. She's doing pretty good. And then I also have on the pole, like I mentioned. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Okay, and I have here my Scindapsus silvery Ann. Well, I might need to cut these lights back off, so these lights are not competing against each other. One more second. All right. You know, guys. Oh, that was a spider. You know, guys, if you're like me and you know you have people to talk to, but you typically seem to talk to yourself, YouTube, try it out. Okay, so here's my Siverian. As you can see, I have her attached to this little pole here. Got it from, of course, Lowe's. It was like maybe 75 cents, and I think they were throwing away, or maybe clearance. But anyway, as you can see here down at the bottom, I use fishing wire or fishing line to attach all of my arrows just because of the aesthetics. I mean, as you can see from here, it doesn't look like there's anything holding it down. Which, I mean, I actually could cut the fishing wire, fishing line off, and of course she's already attached herself to the pole. But I can cut it off and she will still look the same. One thing also with growing aroids on a pole, you can tell when the bigness or when it has figured like, hey, I've attached myself, or I found something that I can attach myself to, so let's grow even bigger. Now down here, of course, it started off with bigger leaves, and from, I don't know if you guys can see this, but from this section here, you see how small it is compared to both sides. This here, from this on down, is what came with it. This here would have been the new growth that was in water. If you noticed, well, you will notice on all of my other aroids that when they have attached themselves to the pole that I have them on, you will see that the fishing wire that I used is right at the base, which where the last leaf actually had unfurled, which would be, looks like this one. And then, as I stated before, let's move this out the way. As I stated before, you can also tell when they're getting bigger. The little spot that I showed you right here is much, much smaller stem compared to what has grown. What has grown over time. This leaf here, once it decided to catch on right here, also you see there's like a maybe one gap right here. The leaf used to sit there. I kind of dropped it and I thought I grabbed the pole, but I grabbed the leaf, and yeah, we all know how that goes. But yes, as you can see, it doubled back in size up here, and she's put these out, and also there is another one coming in. I don't know if you can see her right there. This part is looser than that one, of course, just because it's a newer growth. But as this node starts to come in and the leaf starts to unfurl, she will send out more area roots to continue attaching. And if you can see right here, this is the latest, there it is. This is the latest area root she put out to help support this little guy right here. And so far and so on. And here also is my little Scindapsus here. Whoa, see, she almost fell. Again. This here is my little Scindapsus, as you seen earlier. And just looking at her, like I said, I'm not going to bother her simply because there are roots coming out at the bottom. But with all of my plants and growing them, I've decided that, you know, I might keep a few that doesn't really have a choice but to get big, if you get what I'm saying. Like with the Scindapsus or any vining arrows, you can cut it up to 1,000,000 pieces back down to maybe 2 or 3 leaves and technically start over. But even though your foliage is gone, if you had a healthy plant, that root system should be like 98% perfect if your plant was just truly healthy. Once you cut it, I say, me personally, I just say that you really just pissed your plant off, and now it's going to push out a lot more growth to try to catch up with what's down below, if you get what I'm saying. Um, but yeah, keep them on the pole, as I said, just so I can have more space, which I can acquire more plants. And also, um, when it gets to a certain point, any of my aeroids, I've decided that I'm going to cut. Depending on how tall, how big, how wide the pole is, like these right here are wide. So the ones that are wide, I'm using to hopefully be able to go back in and propagate some cuttings and place them down and allow this wood to fill up. And then once it gets to the top, this is where the propagations and the cuts come in. And I just want to keep what's down here, and that's it. Just like I said, simple fact of space and being able to acquire more plants. But enough talking. I'm going to show you guys exactly how I do this. Hopefully I can get it right, because sometimes it takes a while, because plants, as you know, grow the way they want. Alright guys, sorry about that. The camera cut off. First time. And you hear the YouTubers like, oh, wait, sorry, camera cut off. Yeah, it cut off on me. Back to what I was saying. As we know, plants can grow any direction they want to, even if you place them in a certain spot that you want them to grow, or tie them down a certain way that you want them to grow. Well, regardless of what you do, typically the plant is going to do what it wants to do. But hopefully in these cases, if you keep an eye on it and watch them, you can actually keep them from doing what they want to do. But eventually, once they've been trained, or the roots have been locked in position, or the light isn't adequate enough, then the plant will usually do almost to exactly what you want it to do. But enough talking. As I said before, let's go ahead and get this done. Let's stick these back down here until we get finished. And this little guy gonna sit here. You know what? Let's just move these over here, because you guys will learn real quick that I'm very accident prone. I'm not sure how to why things tend to happen. Even when you're trying not to do things, some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It still happens. Oh. Alright, so what I did was I went to Lowe's and I got my Sphagnum Moss, or orchid moss, that I use the good grade on when it comes to like the root system. I don't have to worry about any mold or mildew or any funny smells like the one that I get from roses. Those are the ones that, like I said before, you'll see attached to aeroids, but they are not. All of my aeroids, as I said, it's in my aeroid mix, but the air root part, or the plant part itself, the leaf part, the green part itself, sits backed on that other kind of sphagnum moss, just because it's a lot cheaper than slacking the good stuff on there. Not saying that either or is better, but when it comes to your roots, which is everything compared to your plant itself, I would use the best quality, because trial and error, I found that other off-brand sphagnum moss at Roses, and it was a lot cheaper, so I decided to grab it and used it. And doing the same process as any other propagation, you moist it or wet it down, drain it, and cover it up. in some kind of container is usually what I do. And I did that one day and came back not even 24 hours later, and you would see mold all over growing inside of one of the bins that I have in. Actually, it's not this bin, but it's one like this, and I would usually cover it and stick some cuttings or whatever I'm propping down in it, and usually just cover it up and watch them grow. But with that kind of spag, it works, but I would not recommend you putting it in something that is sealed tight, just because of like I said, just because of the fungus and the mold and stuff that grows in there. And it seems whatever is growing on is something inside of that sphagnum moss that makes it mold. I don't know. I haven't really figured it out, and honestly, I don't want to. I just know better not to use it in those predicaments. Anyway, let's get started. Oh. Okay, so I'm not sure if I want to turn the camera down so you can actually see a little table here. Let's do this. Okay, here we go. Looks a little better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is use this little container here as a catcher, just because, sphagnum, it gets everywhere. And then also what's crazy about it, I keep calling it sphagnum. I know it's sphagnum moss, but no, it's not. Well, I don't know. I have sphagnum out back that I use that I really don't too much like. You buy them in they come in like bales or box, or however you call it or pronounce it. Yeah, of course you get them from Lowe's. And I bought it, and it's like real thin, gritty. I don't know how to explain it, but anyway, this is orchid moss. But like I said, I call it sphagnum, and even when I asked for sphagnum moss at the Lowe's, the guy pointed me straight to this, and I don't premium, yeah, orchid moss. Anyway, guys. So what I'm going to do, what I usually do is cut some of it up. As you can see, they come in long little strands. But I usually cut some of these up so that when I go and it's time to adjust the root system, or even the pot is in, when I'm pulling on it, the roots seem to attach themselves, and semi-stressful, but hey, what can you do? Well, but I'm putting enough in here. Most of all of my aeroids, most of all of my plants are in a 6-inch pot, usually no bigger than maybe 8 inches, I would say. But this is a 6-inch pot I'm going to be using. Again, nothing but sphagnum moss, orchid moss, how about that? Nothing but moss. And she's going to go in there. And then I also have to, I might put a small layer of, most people call it pond, but for me it's rocks. But I'm going to put some rocks, kind of be, let's say, pebbles. I'm going to put some pebbles in the bottom of this just to give it a little bit more weight, so that once it starts to grow, and even when the spag decides to dry out some, it's not so top heavy, because as you can see, these leaves are pretty big, and the only weight it will have is this spag plus the pole that it's going to sit on. And with that weight and nothing down at the bottom, she will most definitely top over. So thinking about it and explaining it, I really just talked myself into actually doing it because, like I said before, I'm prone for accidents. So let's run out here real quick and grab some pond and put in here. Which I should have had some in here, but I'll show you again in apartment in my plant tour where some of my pond rocks are. All right, here we are. Oh, okay. So here are the pond rocks I was telling you guys about. They're actually, here we go. They're actually made for outside when you're like doing your landscaping or basically outside doing landscaping. How people have like their rocks and stuff going up the driveway or sidewalk. But anyway, of course, I didn't use these for that purpose. These initially started off for my fish tank that I had or have. And I got this from, of course, Lowe's. And it was cheap as well. It was maybe $3 for a big bag of this stuff. Because I wasn't going to PetSmart or anywhere and buying rocks that, oh my God, the bag was not even the size of this, and they wanted like $15. Okay, off subject again. But yes, these are my rocks, or some people call it pond. So let's just say pond. That I will be using at the bottom just to give it some more weight. Don't have to worry about any drainage of water because, of course, it's in this bag. So what I'm going to do now is line the bottom with my pond again, so that there's some weight, and also there's holes at the bottom. So of course you just can't do this. You know, you have to put them in all at once. Okay, I just said that, and then did you hear what I just did? I told you, very accident prone. God, I just did what I said not to do, whatever. Okay, so let's get these rocks out of here because I'm using this container here for my open Sphag to house it in, so it doesn't look a mess. Okay, here we go. Alright, so I'm going to take my pond and I'm going to pour it in here. Spread it out. There we go. I might honestly need to put some more because I can see the bottom through the top. See the light spots. So what I'm going to do is go out here and acquire some more pond. 1 second, guys. I thought I had everything in here, but apparently not. And as you can see over here is another grow tent as well. So what I have here is the container where I keep my little pond in. Okay, let's get this together. All right, so we're going to, there we go, align that with a little bit more pond. Let's stick this here. Okay, and then I also have to find, which I thought I had here with me, but apparently I don't. Let's check. Oh, I don't. I also have to find my fishing line, wire, or whatever you want to call it. Oh, hey, bud. Now you guys heard that. That was my lovely little dog. Hey, buddy. Somebody's wet. Okay, so what I have now, I have to find my... Okay, you want to tell the people, hey, it's a little wet right now. Say, hey, look. Say, hey, Casey. Say, hey. Kissy, little bud. Okay, so... Somebody is being very needy. Alright, here it is right here. Oh, hey, Papa B. Me. Papa trying to do a video. Yeah, did you do a video? Okay. Play with you when I get through. Okay, there you go, buddy. Alright, so this is the fishing line I use. Alright, now what I'm going to do is just basically put a thin layer down at the bottom here. Let's go down a little bit more. There we go. I put a thin layer of Sphag down at the bottom, and of course, this is your pond here. Once it settles itself, especially when you put water in, some of the rocks will stop coming out. What we're going to do now, oh, I forgot I put this little guy in here. This was a little cutting, and as you can see, the nodes here are starting to come out. I'm gonna pull her out of here, which, look at this here, guys. I just pulled it out, and looky here. Let's get her back out of this here Sphag. And the way that she's tugging, oh my gosh. Look at this here. Awesome. Let's bring this in some more. Roots are everywhere. I love Sphag. And then it makes it so much easier for you to take them apart. And like I said, give them away, sell them. Make new plants, you know? But yeah, this is just wonderful. Anyway. Okay, we're going to lightly separate these. Now, honestly, you could take it and just stick it in here how it is, but I would like to give my roots a little bit more room to spread out. Usually, well, I say once you take your roots loose the way that they're growing, and especially they're tight. This one is not tight, but it's growing in tight conditions, so I don't want it to choke itself out. But usually when you take them apart like this, just a little bit, how I usually do with my newly plant started in soil, it basically lets the plant know that, hey, I have more room to stretch out and grow, but also keeping the sensitive part like your root ball, the crown of your plant safe and still protected like it hasn't been bothered. But in this case, I'm going to do a little disturbing just so that I can fit her down in here with no problems. These roots are just spectacular and healthy and white, and yeah. And then what I'm going to do now, as you can see, I took some of the Sphag off and I've separated most of the roots that were growing in the circular motion, and now it's a little bit more free, as you can see. I'm going to place her by spreading the roots out back down in here. Now with this, while I'm actually repotting her, I'm not sure if I want to do them all in the fashion so they're attached like this, or do I want some going up the pole and then also running? I say that because if I want something to go up the pole, then I should go ahead and start the training process now. Oh God, guys, look. Here's another shoot coming up. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. I'm finding new growth everywhere. So yeah, I'm not sure if I want to do that, but I do, since it's in Sphagnum, I do have the opportunity of redoing this plant itself and just putting more of the leaves themselves on the pole. I just have to take it out and just redo the Sphag, which, as I said, is a lot easier than dirt. I have one, as we seen earlier, with the area roots already pushing out. None of the other ones have any area roots, which is why I wanted to wait and maybe just do one and just let it grow. Alright guys, just for now, what I'm going to do is just keep it like this, and I'm going to use this end with the area roots to attach itself to the back of this pole here. I wanted to do more than one, but just for time's sake, and yeah, for time's sake, because I would literally sit here for another 30 minutes to an hour thinking and wondering what should I do with it. Okay, so since I've decided to use that end, I am going to get my hole here. We are going to take it to the bottom as far as it can go. There we go. And now, as you can see, when it's time for me to do the attaching of this pole, it'll be a lot easier. Let's make sure that this pole here is standing up straight as possible. What I usually do, which I probably should have, well, I have some more. What I would usually do for all of my aeroids in this case, again, just because of the weight issue with the plants and the pole that is on attached to the moss pole, and just the weight, my aeroid mix is very light. I use maybe 85 to 90% orchid bark, wood chips. So it's very light, very airy. So I had to learn the hard way, of course, and I've learned now to put pond the rocks in this little back slit right there, just so that we have some extra weight, which I'm going to do now before I started to put any more Sphag in. Oh, it's right here. And this will also keep the pole up as well, just so it doesn't do that. As I said before, Sphag is not heavy at all. So let's fill this back part up here to the pond. And there we go. Also, make sure when you're using your poles or doing any kind of poling for your plants is that it stands up straight. You wouldn't want a crooked pole because you have to go back and adjust it. And especially if it's in dirt, I can guarantee you that if it's there for a while and you finally notice that your roots have possibly made their way close to that pole, or if not, attach yourself on the dirt under it, and you risk the chance of disturbing your roots. So now what I'm going to do is take your Sphag, and we're just going to add it to our existing Sphag here, and in the same token of process, try not to disturb, or let's just say break, any roots while I'm doing this here. And then I also make sure that you are covering every inch of root that you've seen when you pull it out of its home. If not, those roots would typically dry up, but in my case, 95% of my plants are in some kind of grow tent, so that wouldn't be the case. But if I just so happens to decide to miss a day or so with the filling up my humidifier, then of course it's going to dry out. I mean, not as fast, but eventually it will dry out. But lucky me, you know, I'm a plant stalker, so I tend to watch my plants very, very carefully, at least the top half. I'll tell you guys about that in another video, but very strange. But once you have got your spag the way you want it, I do apologize, guys. This is going to be a long video, like I said before. I tend to do a lot of talking, but I do work, but I still tend to do a lot of talking. Alright, so what I've done was fill this up with Sphag. I even went towards the top part and put a little bit more on it. They usually tell you not to cover your plant with excess dirt on the top, just because you might suffocate them. But of course, aeroid mix, there's a lot of air. No way to suffocate. Alright, so I'm going to take some more of this pond. As you can see, I built up all around it. If you look down, there is a hole right here, so I'm going to put some more pond in the bottom of this to fill this up. And as you can see, and you're going to fill up pond. Just going to make you a little bit more heavier. There we go. And then I'm going to push this down in here. Alright, guys. There we go. So this is my setup that you will see eventually when I do my plant tour. There we go. This is the setup, and from what I'm seeing, it looks a little crooked. So this is me going in and adjusting. Okay. Alright, guys, you might have to give me one more second because I'm currently sweating and the heater is on. Okay. There's no such thing as too much Sphag. Alright. So now from a outside standpoint, this thing is freaking awesome. Let's do some more adjusting here. Sphag, push down. There we go. Okay, there we go. We are almost through. So at this point, I am done with the potting. What we're going to do now, I'm trying to get the rest of these little rocks out of here. Really don't matter, but sometimes I have OCD moments, and these are one of my moments. Okay, what I'm going to do now is very simple, since this Since this vine here is not as long and as intricate as some of the others, we're going to get our, right here in front of me, we're going to get our fishing line now, and what we're going to do is go ahead and attach her to the pole. And since she's only so small, I do maybe like 2 feet, if that. That gives me enough room to play with. In case you know, some plants, even if you're training them to grow up a pole, it's just something about those area roots that just don't get it, you know. So I typically cut it a lot longer than needed, so that way when I go and tie her down and we have future leaves, hopefully not this one, but leaves like this that just don't want to stay, you have your extra string to go back in and readjust. Also, you will see a lot of the readjusting too once I start to go through most of my plants. Since they are in a greenhouse now, the growth rate has almost doubled, I would say triple. There's always a new leaf coming out. There's always roots shooting out from your area roots. But with this here and it's sitting inside of the grow tent, I shouldn't have any problem, as you can see from the Siverian that I showed you earlier. But let's go ahead and do it. We're going to make, let's see if you guys can see this. Let's get you in here. All right, guys, give me one extra second. Let's go cut this heat off. All right, guys. Oh. Okay. So, what we're going to do, as I said before, is we're going to tie this back. There we go. See, I knew it. Okay, has some exposed roots right there by the board. All right, what we're going to do is basically do your regular knots. I'm going to tie this around your plant firmly, not too tight, but tight enough so that the plant itself doesn't move, and not so tight that you're cutting your plant circulation off from water or any nutrients. And of course, that's never good. Okay, so okay, is that on there? Yep, that's good enough because the back part is on. So even with that one tie, which is really all I needed, I still have a lot extra here to work with. So like I said, in case something goes wrong to the point where she doesn't connect, I can use this and just wrap her around like that. And then also with clear, you can't tell it's on there. And then with the extra, of course, like I said, you're going to use it. Hopefully you don't need it. But if you do, you know, you just take it here and wrap it around the back a few times so that it goes. There we go, so that it disappears, and the only thing you really see is the finished product. And now that we are finished, the simplest thing to do is water her. So And she really didn't need it, but since I put new Sphag in here, there's a lot of dry spots, so I'm going to take care of these here. And then I think that might be it. I'm going to make sure all of the Sphag you put in has touched some kind of water. You don't want any dry bits on here. And so instead of pouring the water back in, what I do is I take this top, Old Faithful, and I stick a pot on it so when it goes to drain, you know, the water doesn't go everywhere. So let's take the water that ran through. And so this has pond in it, so it's kind of heavy. And we're gonna pour it back down in here. And as you can see, she's draining perfectly. Now let's get these put together. Here we go, there. That's perfect. Let's put a little bit more water on this side. Okay. Okay. Alright guys, now as you can see, okay, looks like I might need a little bit more pond in the back here. Wait. Yeah, let's put some more pond in. There we go. Okay. Now, she's definitely not going anywhere. Let's get these last little pieces off. Okay. So now what we're going to do, I have some extra water here. And I usually pour it in a plant, but all of my plants got watered 2 days ago. So I'm not going to do that, just pour it back down in here. Alright guys, so what we have here is the finished result and how I plant up my plants. And here is your final. Let's straighten her up so she goes straight up instead of sideways. There we go. Here's your final product. And she looks great. Of course, you guys do like a small timestamp of this video, and I'm pretty sure the next time you see her again, she's gonna put out maybe 2 to 3 more of these. Take my word on that. And then also how I'm doing my fertilization. I'm amazed at it myself. The transformation of my plants, the growth. And, you know, people are saying, don't fertilize during the winter time, blah, blah, blah. But then you also have to think, like, you're telling people not to fertilize. Sorry, guys, if you hear those are geese or ducks flying over. They're telling people not to fertilize their plants. And I'm looking like, well, if these plants are coming from the wild, who's out there telling them not to fertilize their plants 365 days of the year? Kind of strange, huh? But the method that I did find, and I did back it up with some research, and thank God that it is positive research, at least for the plant, but not the device itself. So I'm going to do a video on that as well, which I can't wait to do because I'm so excited. Because like I said before, the growth of my plants, and it's just amazing. But guys, this is the finished product of my Scindapsus exotica. I have her attached to this pole right here. I love this little plant. She gives me the biggest leaves, and also the pattern on it is so wonderful. I have her on this pole, and hopefully we can double, triple, quadruple the size of the leaves. But like I said before, if and when she gets up to, let's pull this back up, guys. We're done. When it gets up to here, she will be cut, and I'll have to start my propagation process all over again. Which, of course, you guys will join me on that journey as well once we come close to it. I want to thank you guys for joining me again today on Planting with Pete. I also will see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also leave a comment down below just for some things that you want to see or you have any questions. Other than that, bye guys.